Now, the first stage of the event is what they call a speed test. It's about 5 kilometres long, and the track actually winds its way through the odd creek crossing and then into open paddocks, where they do get up to some quite high speed. Now, the trouble is that the competitors don't actually have any route instructions, so they've actually got to follow the bunting, keeping the yellow on the left and the pink on the right. And of course, at some stages, it gets quite confusing to find their way, especially through gate openings.
But before we get into this stage, Ross, let's check out a few of the highlights. So the first car on the track today is the HORNY racing team of Mitchell Horn and REAGAN Case, and they're running a Toyota LANDCRUISER 75 Series Ute, and it's had a bit of work done to it. And in fact, this car was built by Mitchell while he's been studying at uni, and he's done a pretty good job of putting it together. And he started racing, navigating for one of the other drivers here today. And let's just jump on board with these guys for a second and see how they're going before we head back over to the start, where the Brokeback Racing team are underway. This team is made up of Luke Fairbrother and Nathan Rosier. These guys are also from Mackay, so local guys in their Nissan GQ. Now, this thing was actually a wagon once, and they've cut it down. Now, I asked Luke Fairbrother, the driver of this team, where the Brokeback Racing team name came from, and he said one night they were looking for the name of the team. He was broke, he'd done his back in, and they wanted to go racing, so they decided to call it Brokeback Racing. So actually nothing to do with the movie at all. So the next truck out on the sprint starter stage is the TNT Racing boys. Now this is Troy Carriage and Anthony Dow. Now the two of these guys are mixing it up today. Sometimes Troy's going to be driving and sometimes Anthony's going to be driving, so we need to keep a bit of an eye on that. He's really keeping the foot down there, giving it a great bootful all the way up the back straight. Now interesting, this truck isn't even theirs. It's actually on loan from Troy Tenegler, who's another competitor from up this way. Really pushing hard through that corner. Car really sideways, heading down to the gate. And once again, on the power through the gate. These guys are really pushing hard in this 6-litre powered Nissan Patrol. And back over at the start again, and we have the Big Wheels truck on the track. Big Wheels Racing, Paul Whiting, Jeff Whiting and another Nissan. They didn't do round 1 of the series, but they're here at round 2. Now, one thing interesting about this competition is that it is mostly Nissans. This one's another example, but 11 Nissans in total, only 3 Toyotas and 1 single Range Rover competing here today. And the Big Wheels team heading back out onto the main track after going up that side area. Now we're going to go back to the start. This time we have the BMS racing team, heading pretty sideways there, heading down towards the creek. Hitting that pretty hard, not slowing down at all, and whoa, got a wheel up in the air. Foot flat to the floor. Now this team is REECE Burgess and Sam Dow. This thing's really getting along very quickly. Heading now down towards the back gate. Around through the gate and back into the back section of the track. We'll check out the times at the end of this segment. So back at the start, and the countdown's been given to the Team Toygoata. Team Toygoata, made up of Joel Shepherd and James MAROSKE. These two guys are actually affectionately known around the circles as Goat and Moscow. So Goat and Moscow heading up towards the back and down towards the gate. And this gate is not on any route instructions. They just have to find it based on the markings out there in the paddock. Now, as Ross said before, quite a number of kilometres of track out the back here before they head back around into the main section and off to the finish of this circuit. The RAG racing team now off from the start in this big V8 GQ Patrol. And these guys are actually locals. They're from Mackay. Oh, and look at that, straight up on 2 wheels. Very lucky not to turn it over on its lid then. Back into the groove of things now. heading down towards the back gate. Now, as I was saying, these guys are from Mackay, so they are locals here to the area and doing a great job in their patrol as they head out to the back section of the track. And sitting in the line now, we have the Rough Nut Racing team, and they're away for this stage, stage 1. We're not really going to see the need for these at the moment, but the tyres on these things are pretty big and pretty awesome. The Trapidor tyres are used by a lot of these competitors. This one's got 37-inch Trapidors on it. We now head over and see the start of the Wild Racing team in this bright red version of the Nissan Patrol. And as they head down here towards the gate, you might be able to see on the front of that car Crazy Eyes. Now, Crazy Eyes is a company that does winch mods, and we haven't talked much about winches on these trucks because I haven't had to use them yet. But having a winch that works really well and really quickly is so important for when they get into the winch stages. The gearing, the type of winch, the way that it works is all very, very important. Now we're heading back over to the start for the next competitor, which is the Hound Dog Racing team. Now you can't help but saying Hound Dog when you see the Hound Dog Racing team. Shane Marsden, Trent Wust in the Hound Dog Racing team, coming out of the back section and heading towards the finish of the stage. Next up we have Stockers with Lockers. Now this team is made up of Dave Casey and David Gregg. This team is based in Rockhampton, so a little bit down the road from Mackay where we are today. This thing's a 4.8 litre turbo petrol. Singing along as it heads down towards the bottom gate. Sounds great as it tears off towards the back section of the course. And now it's completed the back section and heading over towards the finish. Next up we have Anarchy Racing. Now that sounds great, that V8, getting it very sideways there as they head up towards the back. Another Nissan Patrol. And this one has a 5 litre Holden V8 in it, with an auto gearbox. That's why it sounds so good. As we head back over to the start for the ARB Rockhampton team start, sitting right on the rev limiter there on that car as they took off down into the creek section here. Now this is Greg McDonald and Josh Garner. These guys are from Rockhampton. Another Nissan Patrol GQ. This one has a GU engine in it though. It's got the 4.8 litre petrol turbo engine from the GU. And it gets along quite nicely, really taking off there down towards the back section of the circuit. We're heading over now to the start again, and this time we've got Diff Eater. Now this is a Range Rover, the only Range Rover in the field. Car number 9. Chris Mosley and Liam Davis, and this team is also from Mackay. Now this is a pretty old Range Rover, this one is a 78 model. Now we're just hearing news through that the RAG Racing team have actually broken a front diff. Now that's really bad news for them, and hopefully they'll be able to get it fixed before the next stages, as we see the Diff Eater team just finishing off and heading out the back. Now back over at the start we have the Redbeard Racing team taking off, heading down into the creek section, and up into the paddock area where they'll get some pretty good speed, I would think, in this V6 Land Cruiser. About time we saw something other than a Nissan Patrol, which is good. These guys also from Mackay here in Queensland. And the Redbeard Racing team are the last competitors on this stage as they get towards the end. And they've done pretty well out of this stage, finishing in second place for stage 1. As we head over to the results, and as you can see, it's won by the Hound Dog Racing team. And in third place, we have the BMS Racing team.